What's up, guys? Welcome to A Reseller's Life. My name is Chris. Thank you so much for joining me. In today's episode, I want to go over 6 things that will happen to you if you don't do them over the course of the next 10 years. Again, my name is Chris. I resell things online, which means I find things that have already been sold retail, and then they come through me either through liquidation or I find them thrifting or garage selling, and then I resell them for a second time online or a third time. Sometimes my items have been sold 10 times. But I'm a reseller in a sense that I don't necessarily retail items. I have a couple items that I retail, but this video is about reselling for the most part. So let's get straight into it. Um, this is what happens if you don't do things over time. And the prompt in my call this morning was, what would you like to happen in the next 10 years? I know we do 3-month planning. I encourage people to work on themselves daily. But over the course of 10 years, what happens if you consistently do something over the course of 10 years? I'm going to give you guys what I think happens and 6 things to avoid so you don't fall into these traps and become a victim of what happens when you don't think about it. So number one is, what would I like you guys to do over the next 10 years? I would like you to develop a reselling business versus just owning your job. What I mean by that is, if every single week you go out and find items, go home, sell them, you're not building something that's going to outlast you. At the end of 10 years, when you stop working, your resale business is done. There's two alternatives to that. You can build a brand and develop products over the course of 10 years, and at the end, you can sell that brand and those assets to someone. You can actually exit and you'll have something at the end of 10 years. And normally that's how long it takes to build up a brand, 7 to 10 years. So if you work on the retail end of selling something brand new, that's one way of approaching it. And that's huge over the course of 10 years, but the first 7 years you might not make anything. The other side of that is you can create a reselling business, which means you have all the systems, you own the supply chain, so things are coming into you. You also have employees, maybe a manager in place to help you do it. You can sell that system to somebody else and they can just jump in and make it work. An example of this, you guys know my friend Luke. He has a channel called Endless Entrepreneurs. He actually sold his eBay store and everything in it, all of it. But I want people to know that if you have to work in your eBay business, it's not worth very much when you sell it. The actual shelves, the inventory, that's not worth that much because people can go out and get that anywhere. If you've been reselling for a while, usually supply is not the problem. When you're just starting, supply is the problem. Usually, if you looked at resellers who have been doing it for a while, they have more stuff than they actually can even list. So this happens a lot in resale. It doesn't happen a lot in retail. Okay, so people who are selling brand new items rarely have too many brand new items because it takes such a long time to do that. We're talking about a 10-year horizon for one product versus, and basically 10 years of energy put into one thing versus 10 years of energy spread out amongst thousands of things. So the first thing is, I want you guys to develop a reselling or a retailing business over the next decade. Okay, number two, if you guys enjoy this type of content, please consider subscribing. I give you 1 to 3 tips in every video to help you build your online business. However, in this video, it's more like 50 tips. So this might be one of those videos where you pause, pull over for a second, take some notes. It was a really good call this morning, and I want to share the ideas with you guys. So I'll answer some of the questions at the end. Be patient with me. Okay, number two is developing a listing routine. This one is awesome. Over the course of 10 years, I want you guys to have a routine down of something that you normally do. If you like reselling, a lot of the people that I know that have already made it, they're already independently retired. These are the same people who are out there with their Geiger counters looking for rare coins on the beach, or they still go to the flea market to look for things that they want to flip. It's fun. So if you have a optimal listing pace that you enjoy. It might be 50 items a week or 100 items a week. What you could do instead of listing more items is just list more expensive items. You need to find your optimal pace. Your optimal pace can't be 0 items a week. I know a lot of people who don't want to list at all, and they also don't want to hire someone to list for them so that you don't really have anything. If items aren't going up for sale, that doesn't work. So I still get emails saying, Chris, you would be super proud of me. Yesterday I listed 15 items. And the way I look at it is, this is like brushing your teeth. Like, Only brush the teeth you want to keep, right? That's how you teach kids to do it. If you want to be a reseller as that's your job, you love it as your job, you have to list. I shouldn't have to reward you for brushing your teeth. That's part of it. Okay, that's something that you need to normally do. If you can't consistently list, you're not a reseller. You're just a person that enjoys shopping once in a while and listing when you feel like it. Those are not the traits of someone who does this and earns a consistent living. That's just somebody who does this for fun. Nothing wrong with that, but you can't say you want a resale business and then treat it like a hobby. It doesn't work that way. Um, okay, let me show you guys how crazy these effects are. Like I said before, if you list 15 items a day, 7 days a week at $10 profit, there's your $1,000 a week net profit. That's a habit of listing 100 items every single week. If you lived on your day job, because most people who resell do it part time, you have your day job, you do this 15 thing for 10 years, that's 500 grand in savings. Okay, if it's actually pre-tax, so 500 grand before tax over the course of 10 years, that's a huge amount of money. And if you do that for a couple of decades, if you did that from when you were 23 to 43, you would have earned $1 million in your side hustle with a hobby that takes maybe 20 hours a week. Incredible, right? But I want to give you guys something that's even more insane. Let's say instead of you listing 15 items a day for 7 days a week, you hired someone, okay, that lists 100 items a week. And you did that every single week for 10 years. If you hired a new person every single week for 10 years that listed 100 items, which is essentially a part time job, okay, it's not a full time job. I would say somebody could knock out 100 listings for you in 20 hours. If you were to hire 20 hour a week people over the course of 10 years, you would be listing 50,000 items a week, which is like $500,000 in profit a week. And guess what? You still wouldn't be one of the largest resellers. There's resellers who list in the range of 9 to 10,000 new items a day. So even if you hired someone to do what you do every single week for 10 years, you still wouldn't be the biggest. So what does that tell me? It tells me there's people out there who are hiring multiple people every single week, and that's how they think. Okay, so whatever you're doing, there's someone doing literally 100 times more. So it's interesting to think about, okay, what can I get done in the next 10 years? What can I focus my time on? I look at this as like RAM. Okay, so when you're building a computer, the RAM is how much memory is in there. Everyone has a limited amount of RAM. If you consider yourself like me, I consider myself a relatively slow learner. I have to remove stuff out so that I can concentrate and do things. I actually admire people who can multitask. I can't. I have to sit down with a notebook, turn my phone on airplane mode, or I can't even do anything. I get too overwhelmed with what's going on in my brain. I can only do one thing at a time. So for me, it takes a really, really long time to learn something new. So RAM is important. For me, I can't have a lot of extraneous stuff because I don't have that much RAM, and it's my processing power is too slow. If you're really smart, maybe you can multitask at the same time and achieve the results faster. But my point is, you want to clear stuff out of the way that's distracting you. You want to get rid of things that don't serve you so you can use more energy power on one of these things over the course of 10 years. Okay, so now I want to talk about the third thing, which is getting good at the classics. So shout out to Amber in the group. She said that she wants to focus on career wear. Fantastic. But she wanted to focus on more of the classics. Okay, so we're talking about cashmere, wool, linen, silk. Makes sense, right? So if you keep doing this, you'll understand that certain styles are more timeless than others, right? Like I assume that nice suits will probably always sell well. It'll probably decline a little bit because it's becoming a little bit more casual. But that doesn't mean there's not a market for really good suits pretty much forever. You can still make that business work. Another example would be like if you're selling Chanel. For example, I know Chanel styles that are sometimes 20 or 30 years old that sell just as well as the new ones. It's pretty much classic. That quilted black style that you see with the Chanel logo, that's gonna sell forever. If you focus just on that one market, you could do it. There are stores that only sell Chanel. If you're super into it, you could dedicate your life to just one brand. So the classics are really important. That's why I've decided to choose shoes for my category because I feel like this is going to be around for a long time. Okay, number four, getting great at sourcing. So over the course of the next 10 years, what do I consider that to be? I consider it having a long Rolodex. I don't know if people know what that is still, but a long list of contacts You can use a CRM system like HubSpot, which is free. You can do it old school on paper. You can have a little black book of people that you call. That's worth money. Over the course of 10 years, if you're constantly contacting people, you're going to have a really sweet contact list. And guys, this is pretty common when you move your book of business somewhere. I come from a background of selling retail cars on the internet. So at Lexus, I worked at Lexus of Fremont. I could have taken my list of business with me because all these businesses are used to doing corporate leases with me. I can move to a different Lexus dealership and take all those clients with me. That's how a lot of people start businesses that are work for a big accounting firm or a big insurance firm, and they move on and open their own. Bunch of clients move over. They've taken their contact list there. And then also, if you want to sell, if I wanted to sell Chris Lynn insurance services in the future, I can say, look, I've already got this book of business of 100 people who work with me. When I transfer it to you, Josh, you're going to change the, Josh Anderson Insurance Services, and hopefully you can migrate some of those people because you'll do business similar to the way that I do, or I can recommend you. So this contact list is huge. Also, as you build relationships over time, it might be a company, right? You're used to placing a $10,000 order with X liquidation company, and they know you. When the business takes over and somebody else becomes the buyer, it's still that company doing business with them. And that's relatively common. When you're working with liquidation services, you actually get tiered. The people who spend more money, they get first pick. And then whatever's left is what people who make small orders get. And you'll notice that. You'll see people who are just starting with liquidation saying, what I got was crap. But I'm going to ask how much they spent. And they said 2 grand. And that's already been picked over a dozen times by different resellers. You're getting literally what they're about to take to the landfill. So of course your lot is going to be bad. But over the course of 10 years, you can work your way up the food chain to where you're one of the bigger buyers. And that's worth money. That's worth selling to somebody else. Okay, number 5. This came up a lot. Getting great at raising kids. So a lot of people in my group have our parents. They want to be really good at raising their kids. Teaching your kids about consistency is just basically you being consistent. I watch my parents work super hard and essentially like have nothing left at the end of their life, right? But I watched them, and what I learned from them was work ethic. I didn't learn the part about saving money or um, investing, none of that stuff, but I did learn the work ethic part. So kids basically just learn what you do. So what I want to do is actually I want to teach my kids about compound interest. Um, my friend Pete was one of my bosses at my old job. What he did was he charged his kids rent, and so I actually just did this exercise. Let's say from the age of 7 to 17, you charge your kids $100 a month rent, but you give them a way to earn money, whether it's a paper route or you let them mow the lawn or whatever. They earn $100 a month, and you match that, but you don't tell them. They give you $100. You put it into a bank account. You put $100 in, so that's $200 a month that you put into an account for them. But they don't know. They're just paying rent to you. When they turn 17, they graduate from high school. If you just consistently entered in $200 a month for 10 years, you could give your kid a gift of 30 grand with only this is only 6% compound interest annually. You've only invested $24,000 over the course of 10 years, but you give your kid 30 grand when they're 17 for college or maybe towards their education expenses. That's not that difficult. I feel like most parents could set aside $100 for their kid every single month. But teaching your kid that value of compound interest, imagine getting that lesson and seeing from your parents, wow, my parents set aside $100 a month for me. That's really cool. So did I, unwillingly, but they basically did it to get that money back. The amount of money that my friend Pete gave to his kids is way more than that because he charged his kids a lot more than $100. But you can actually subsidize them and say you can train the right habits and the right work ethic and the right structure by just giving them incentives. Kids are master manipulators. They know what they want. So you, being a lot older and more experienced than them, hopefully you can create an incentive program that teaches them the right habits. But I just really think that kids don't really care what you say, they just watch what you do. That's from my experience of working with kids, being a kid myself. And then hopefully I get to enter this parenthood thing soon so I get to try it myself and see if this stuff actually works. Okay, finally, almost everyone in the group mentioned they want to get great at their health. So if you guys are enjoying this type of content, please smash the like button. and let me know in the comment section below if you're going to actually try to utilize any of these things. But number one was getting more exercise. Okay, so one thing I'm fascinated by is this gentleman named Ronnie Coleman. I think he won Mr. Universe 7 or 8 times. Really cool guy. And what I thought was very fascinating was his goal for muscle growth was pretty low, lower than you would think. It's 5 to 10 pounds of muscle per year. Now, of course, that's still difficult. It still requires regular working out. But you can, especially when you're beginning, you can gain maybe 1 pound or 2 pounds of muscle per month. But his goal was 5 or 10 a year. So his goal wasn't that high. What's unique about Ronnie Coleman is he did 5 or 10 pounds a year for 3 decades. Okay, so 30 years of growth. Um, and of course, he didn't really achieve this type of level of success until he was really in his 30s. So it takes a while of consistent growth to really get there. I just think it's interesting that, he's like the stereotypical bodybuilder guy, one of them, like Arnold. But his goal was way lower than you would think. They're just regular people who expect that kind of growth in a month, but they have no long-term insight. So again, I want you guys to think about what can you accomplish in the next 10 years. Second, for mental health is journaling. So for me, really love journaling. I love writing down some different ideas, and I really aim at. I would like to journal for the next 10 years because it's awesome looking back at your life and seeing what you did, what kind of things you enjoyed, what kind of things you didn't like. And I just think it's really cool being able to have that habit. Plus, a lot of people have enjoyed the tip that I have that it improves your sleep. I have the 6 minute journal where I write down like what I'm grateful for, some simple stuff, but then I also have like a hardcore journal that has all my ideas. I call it brain dumping. That's not my term. I got it from somewhere else. You dump all of the ideas from your brain onto this piece of paper, and then you can sleep a lot better because you don't want to forget something that you thought was really cool, and two, you don't want to be thinking about it while you're trying to get some rest. So definitely journaling is a huge habit that a lot of people have found value in. Number three is building morning and evening routines. Thank you, Ali, for manning the chat and helping me there. Um, in the morning, you may have a certain routine, wake up at a certain time, eat a certain meal, go on a walk. In the evening, you might have the same type of routine. Charge your phone in a different room, set your alarm clock, stop eating 3 hours before bed, turn your technology off, whatever. Morning and evening routines are huge. So people love building those. And you could make your entire day one big long habit. You wake up, you brush your teeth a certain way, you put on a certain amount of sunscreen, you do a certain workout, you eat a certain breakfast. Maybe you like variety, so every single lunch you eat with somebody new. Maybe you have a certain group of friends that you love hanging out with. So Tuesday is this person, Thursday is this person, Friday is one person. Build your ideal week and just say no to everything else. That's one way of building your routines. People love that. It helps you stay in shape. And then ideally, you want to find people who have similar goals to you because you just really become the average of the people around you. Okay, number four. This one is going to help you guys the most, but people don't like to talk about it, but this is my channel, so whatever. Um, Getting great sleep and then building food routines. So you may want to develop 5 or 10 healthy meals that you consistently eat. This is going to help you tremendously because you don't have to think about it. If you're hungry, it's already too late to cook something nutritious. You're just going to get whatever is easier. When I feel stressed, what comes to mind is carbs, pizza, tacos, burgers, alcohol, sugar, cookies. That's what comes to mind. But I've already planned a meal ahead. I know that, okay, this evening we have 3 or 4 different options. They're already pre-made. It's really, really simple or pre-set up. So all the ingredients are easy to put together. And I love it. Okay, so having 5 to 10 healthy meals that you actually enjoy is really important. You don't want to think about it like you're depriving yourself of something because you have to do it forever. That's why diets to me are so ridiculous because what happens after the diet? You just go straight back to where you were before. You have to create a lifestyle change that you actually enjoy. There's no point in creating meals that don't taste good but are calorically correct if you're just going to stop eating them after the diet is over. Okay, now this is the last thought that I'm going to end on. And this is people waste a lot of time abstaining. So for me, as an example, in this space where I am at, I'm about to get into some doing some listing myself. This week, I would personally like to list 500 items. I have listers to help me too, but this week myself, I'm going to list 500 items. But it's easier because there's only one kind of item to list. I only have shoes here, so it makes it easier for me to stay on track because I don't have to think about, well, should I list this whatever because it's not there. This would be the equivalent of, if you got a cookie and you attach it to a string and you put it on the refrigerator door, and every single time you open the refrigerator door, this cookie would be banging around on the door. That would be really, I would be tempted to eat it. But if you put your cookie in a wrapper and you put it in your closet, you might not even remember the cookie a year later because it's out of sight, out of mind. So whatever you want to do, put that where it's really obvious. I want to list shoes. Shoes are everywhere. What I don't want to list is stuff that I think is like quick flips. And this is what I'm going to end this video on. Everyone smash the like button, but the video or the idea I want to imprint on your brain right now is people are so into quick flips, quick money. I want this now. I saw it on Instagram. I'll take it. If you want stuff quick, prepare yourself for a slow and painful death. Okay? That's how aggressive I want to put this idea into your mind. If you're only interested in quick flips, quick money, quick this, quick that, then you're going to have a long and painful, horrible existence. Do not do that. Okay? Look at the long term, do things for the long run. I just watched this video on what 100-year-olds talk about, and I was listening really hard. Like, what do people that are 100 years old love? Okay, and I'm listening to them, listening to them. I know what it is. It's memories. They have memories of doing really cool stuff with amazing people. They have memories of their spouses. And these are people who sometimes outlive their spouse 40 or 50 years. And they, as they're 100x years old, they're like, I really remember that time I went to travel with my wife, with my husband, when we did this, when we did that. I love those times we spent together. I love those times with my kids. They're never talking about work, ever. They never say, you know what, we put together this really cool proposal while I was at work and we knocked it out. That's never what they talk about. Okay, so I encourage you guys, make incredible memories. And over the course of 10 years, you can build something really cool. Remember when you built that awesome thing that did this for these people, or you built an awesome marriage or relationship over the course of 10 years, or you raised awesome kids over the course of 20 years? That's all I want you guys to think about. Long-term thinking, not short-term quick flip garbage. Okay. If I just get so many emails of how can I make $1,000 today? I just don't know what to say, because if you're looking at your life like that, I almost want you to fail because this is not how you should do it. Trust me. I've been doing this for a long time. You get a lot of joy out of building something over the course of time because you get to watch it grow, right? And I am guilty too of raising a child, raising a baby of, let's say, like, here's a great example. Apple products. Apple products are super hot, right? And sometimes I'm tempted because it's quick money. I'll see a MacBook Air or a MacBook Pro that's $200 or $300 undervalued. I'll drive 20 miles to go get it. I'll come home, I'll test it, and then I'll post it and I'll make a couple $100. But I have no intention on creating an Apple processing center to make that so somebody else can do that for me. So this is how I consider that. Raising a baby. So I take action. I go and get the stuff and learn how to do it. Then I raise the baby. The baby is all happy and it's been fed and it's clothed and it's happy. And I just take that baby and I go into the forest and I leave it there. That's how I feel when it comes to the different projects that I've been doing in my life. So I no longer want to do that. Okay, I'm going to raise this all the way up to 100-year-old person. That's how I'm looking at it. I'm looking at certain products and I really want to stay focused. And I'm tired of abandoning children in the forest. Okay, it's not cool. So everyone out there, enjoy your day. Smash the like button. Support the channel by buying my reseller field guide for 35 bucks. It goes over how I do this, and it's more of a thank you product. So all of my different ideas, I put the best way that I can for people. Instead of making a really expensive course, I have decided to go the route of creating a thank you product that has all my best ideas to help me continue to make this channel. So I appreciate you guys. Everyone have a good one. Take care.